Hey everyone, I'm Tom and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at my TBR for the month of February. February is a short month, so I don't have too many reads on here, but some of them are on the long side. And as always, TBRs are highly aspirational and subject to change based on what is going on with my reading and real life, which is a little more apt here as the end of the month here in January as we're going into it. I have some travel for work, so if I read a bunch, that will change my TBR, or if I don't read a bunch, it could change my TBR. The biggest factor on that is probably going to be this. Midnight Tides Book 5 of Malazan Book of the Fallen. The plan is to finish this here at the end of January, but if it does bleed into February, this will be my first thing I probably really work on, try to finish. I won't say too much about it because I'll save that for the wrap up if I finish it in January, which is still the goal. But yeah, so far it has been a return to Malazan, and that's all I'm going to say. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the things that will definitely be a net new in February. The first one up is the return to Romantasy. I've been reading this series with my fiance, and that would be Onyx Storm. This is the third book in the Imperium cycle. This is obviously the Fourth Wing series by Rebecca Yarros. Really like that cover that I made, by the way, on that one. That one gave me a good chuckle. I have been warned by pretty much everybody I know who has read this book to be in for it. Now, I don't really know what that means, but it seems like even people who have really enjoyed Iron Flame and Fourth Wing feel a very strong way about Onyx Storm. And as somebody who has had an okay time with the series so far, I don't really know what that's going to mean. I think that with how the last book ends, with how Iron Flame ends, there's definitely the chance of this to be a very exhausting book. With just some of the stuff that I think could happen between some certain characters and just a lot of stuff going on there. I have had a fun time with the series. I never thought I would say that. I really thought I would, kind of go into this series with my arms crossed and just really hate it and just kind of be able to dunk on it the entire time through. And while there are definitely elements that I think are just like really poorly done throughout the series, there are also things that I find, that are enjoyable enough. Obviously, I think having the experience of reading it with my fiance makes it that much better, makes me enjoy it that much more. I think it helped that I read the majority of Iron Flame on a plane back from Ireland. I think on my Audible Wrapped, it had my longest listening day as 8.5 hours, and that was because of the flight back to the States and then from DC back to where I live. It was a lot of time on the plane, and I just sat and listened to Iron Flame because there was nothing else I could do. A lot of it was also done on trains in Ireland, so it was just like, I don't know, there's something about that reading experience that I think maybe bumped it up and made me enjoy it a little bit more. Unfortunately for Onyx Storm, that's not going to be the case. I'm just going to be listening to this. But the thing it does have going for it is the conversation that I'll get to have with my fiance. We'll obviously do our spoiler discussion after it once we both finish it because we are reading it together. And it'll be fun one way or another. We'll either both be dunking on this book or something will come of it, and it will be a fun time. Next, this might be something I'm the most excited to start this year, and I'm glad I'm starting it a little bit earlier, and that is finally getting around to Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This series has been recommended to me over and over and over again. It's a series that I myself have thought I would like for a while, and I just, kind of pushed it off. I put Sun Eater in over top of it because I knew for a fact that book was coming out last year, or that book, The Shadows Upon Time, the last book in that series, was coming out, and so Red Rising kind of got bumped off the list. No, I'm not comparing the two series. I know that happens a lot. That's not something I'm doing. I'm not going into Red Rising expecting Sun Eater or anything like that. This is just a series that, one, a lot of people in my, I don't want to call it real life, in my not online life are currently reading it. And so like it'll be fun to read it with them and experiencing it with them. And then obviously online, I know so many people here on BookTube absolutely love this book. I know I have my buddies over at It's Lit Book Reviews are super excited for me to start it. And they're going to be starting Sun Eater at the same time I'm starting Red Rising. So I think that'll just kind of be a fun thing for us to talk about as we go through both of those series at similar times. But yeah, Red Rising, the only thing I really know about it is space opera-y kind of thing. The first book is, everyone, gives it the Hunger Game comparison. That's all I know. I haven't really looked into it. I've heard some of the main characters' names. I think, is it Daro is a main character that really happens in here. Class warfare kind of stuff. And like I said, the Hunger Games aspect to it, which, I liked Hunger Games back in the day when I read that, whenever those came out. So, I'm not expecting to be absolutely blown away by the first book, but from everything I hear, as you continue on through the series and everything, it just gets better and better and better. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm really hoping that I can do the same thing I did with Sun Eater, and the fact that I started the series the same year it finished. Which would be absolutely fantastic. It's looking less and less likely here with Red Rising that, what is it supposed to be, Red God is actually going to come out in 2026. I think right now, if you look on Goodreads, there's like a July release date, But I feel like with how big of a series this is, there would already be like huge marketing campaigns and like the wheels of that release would already be turning. And it doesn't seem like that's the case. And then I also did hear that maybe there's a rumor going around, or maybe even Pierce Brown himself said that there's a chance that that Red God could maybe get split into 2 books, and so it would be even longer, and he'd have to rework stuff. You know, some things like that is all going on with Red Rising. So who knows if it will actually happen? It would be awesome if like Red God comes out December, November. Once again, very similar to Sun Eater, and I can just work my way through, not have to wait like all of you have had to wait, and I just get to enjoy the series in one nice controlled binge. I'm not going to probably go back to back to back unless I really get into the series, but it would be a lot of fun if that was the case. Obviously, definitely let me know what you think of Red Rising and all of that, and down below in the comments or in the Discord that is also linked in the description. Next up, and this is this is going to help me work towards one of my goals this year, and that is reading a little bit more non-fiction. I believe I said I wanted 2 non-fiction books this year, and the first one I'm going to do is Hannibal by Philip Freeman. Philip Freeman is the author that I read. He wrote a book about Julius Caesar that was recommended to me. Once again, It's Lit Book Reviews recommended that and this. They have this really awesome, if you want to get into, you know, ancient history, historical fiction, they have like a tier list that kind of like, you know, shows you where you should start and progress into. And this is one of the early things. This is obviously a historical character I don't really know all that much about. This isn't a super long book either. I think the audiobook is about 5 hours. So it's not super long. I don't think it's going to be, you know, a huge commitment, obviously, but it's going to definitely fill in a big void of knowledge that I don't have. I've heard the name Hannibal. Obviously, I think most people think of Hannibal Lecter. That's why I went with the Hannibal Lecter cover mask right there. But, you know, I think elephants come to mind when I think about this series, or this person, not series. Elephants, the war elephants, and, you know, I don't know if he was with Rome, fighting against Rome, all of those things. Like, it's just kind of like a void of knowledge that I have in the ancient world. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I have found Philip Freeman's writing to be very consumable in the one book that I read with him from Julius Caesar, another book that I read last year, and just learned so much about, had a really good time with it. And like I said, I think when you're reading historical fiction, not historical fiction, this is not fiction, this is nonfiction. I'm going to mess that up a bunch. But when you're reading nonfiction like this, I think it being consumable is more important sometimes than the breadth of the information that you're getting from it. Because if it's really dry and really boring, you're not going to want to read it. You're not going to, like, it's not going to stick as well. At least it doesn't for me. So I have found to, at least at this point, connect with his writing after one book. You know, that Julius Caesar book was like 16 hours on audio, and I had a great time with it. I didn't think it really dragged at all. I have had in just general, like with nonfiction, I don't always connect with it the most. I don't get like what I'm either just like content, or I never get to that like, oh, this is like the best thing I've ever read kind of material in the limited nonfiction reading I have done. So we'll see how Hannibal goes. And then, yeah, that should be a fun one. And then the big boy for this month is going to be Peril's Gate by Janie Wertz. Super excited. This is the 6th book in the Wars of Light and Shadow by Janie Wertz. This series has been absolutely amazing. The more I read from it, the higher it climbs in my all-time ranking. The writing is beautiful. Just so much about this series works. This is just like great epic fantasy, world spanning, just like cool magic, just all kinds of stuff. Great character work. Honestly, if I had to pick like one thing about it, the writing would probably be number one. That makes it the most unique thing about it. But I really think the character work here is, you know, just like on any of those levels of great character writers. I think Janie definitely deserves to be up there. And so Peril's Gate is going to be the next one I'm working on, which, fun fact, I'm going to be hosting the read-along for this book. I think we have it loosely scheduled for March 7th. So obviously I need to finish it before that if I'm going to be hosting that and everything, and just, you know, kind of working my way along as we go. So that will be a lot of fun. And you know, more information will come. We'll see if everybody's schedule works, you know, all that fun stuff. We were trying to plan ahead. And then, just like I said, because I am traveling this upcoming week for work, if I get a lot of reading done, I have no idea what it's going to be like. I don't know anything really what's going to go on with this trip. We currently have a giant, you know, winter storm outside. I don't even know if I'm going to get to fly out for it or not. So a lot of this could change. If I do have a little bit of extra time laying around, I will want to finish The Sword Saint by C.F. Eagleton. I know I didn't say that right. Eagledin. We'll go with Eagledin. Sounds more correct. This is the final book in the Empire of Salt trilogy. I've been reading this from a recommendation from Books with Benghis Khan. It's been a really fun trilogy. Looking forward to finishing it. I finished the second book, Shangan, this month in January. And so if I could finish, finishing out a series always feels really good. Finishing out this trilogy would be really nice. And it's a fun trilogy, super fast paced. I think all of the books are like 300-ish pages, which, makes it very easy to get through. Like all three of them are like almost the length of this bad boy. So, when it comes to things like that, it's always fun. So that will definitely be a wild card if I can get that, fit in somewhere. Like I said, a lot of it's really going to depend on the travel for work. And then I have a little bit of other travel for some other stuff that I can talk about later. But that is the TBR for February. I'd love to hear what you guys have going on, what you plan on reading. If there's anything you think I should really make sure I read this year, definitely let me know down below in the comments, or the Discord, like I mentioned before, is linked in the description. You can come find me in there as well. But that's going to be all for me. And remember to always read what you want when you want.